Before the world celebrated Christmas, before the stars shone in the night sky, before angels filled the heavens with songs of joy, there was a promise whispered for generations, a promise spoken in times of darkness, when hope felt distant. It was the promise that one day God himself would step into human history, not as a conquering warrior or a mighty ruler, but as a fragile, helpless child. This is the story of that night, the night when heaven touched earth, the night that changed everything, the night a baby was born, a baby who would grow to carry the weight of humanity's brokenness. This is the story of the birth of Jesus. The world into which Jesus was born was heavy with tension. Empires controlled people's lives. Soldiers patrolled the streets. Poverty was common. Fear was familiar. For the Jewish people, life had become a cycle of waiting for a savior, a promised Messiah, someone who would bring light into their long night of suffering. They held on to ancient prophecies, believing that one day, hope would come. In a quiet village called Nazareth lived a young woman named Mary. Her life was simple and predictable. She helped with chores, prepared meals, fetched water, and lived among neighbors who had known her since childhood. She was not famous, not wealthy, and not powerful. She was ordinary in every way. And yet, history chose her. Her life changed when she learned she would carry a child unlike any other, a child conceived not by human effort, but by divine purpose. She carried this child with faith and quiet strength, even as people whispered, questioned, and doubted. Her pregnancy brought uncertainty, yet her heart remained steady. She believed that the God who began this miracle would see her through it. Meanwhile, far away in Rome, Caesar Augustus issued a decree that every person in the empire must be counted. It was a political decision, a simple census on paper, but it set the stage for prophecy to be fulfilled. Because every family had to return to their ancestral town, Mary and Joseph were required to make a long journey to Bethlehem, the city of David. The journey was difficult, nearly 100 miles of dusty roads, rocky paths, and uneven terrain. Mary was heavily pregnant, moving slowly, step by step, through heat, cold, and exhaustion. Each mile carried its own challenge. Each moment tested their endurance. Yet this journey was part of a larger story unfolding, a quiet reminder that divine purpose often meets us in uncomfortable places. By the time they reached Bethlehem, the town was overflowing with travelers. Every home, every guest room, every corner was filled. The streets were noisy, the alleys were crowded. People pressed in from every direction. And Mary's time had arrived. Joseph searched urgently for a place where she could rest, but door after door closed. Every space was taken, every option exhausted, until at last they found shelter where no one would have expected. In a stable, among animals, straw, and the quiet warmth of a small forgotten space. There, in the unlikeliest of places, the most extraordinary moment in history unfolded. Jesus was born, not in a palace, not in comfort, not in wealth, but in simplicity. Mary wrapped him in cloths with her tired hands. Joseph watched with awe and fear and wonder. And because there was no cradle, they laid the newborn child in a manger, a feeding trough for animals, transforming the ordinary into something sacred. While the world slept unaware, heaven stirred with excitement. Just outside Bethlehem, shepherds watched over their sheep through the night. Shepherds were considered unimportant, unnoticed by society, often ignored. But heaven chose them first. A brilliant light broke across the dark sky. A message filled the air. A message of joy, peace, and good news for all people, not just kings or scholars or the powerful, but everyone. The shepherds listened, stunned, overwhelmed, trembling at what they saw. And then they ran. They ran through the fields, through the darkness, through the winding paths of Bethlehem, searching for the sign they were told about, a baby wrapped in cloths, lying in a manger. When they found him, everything made sense. There was no crown, no throne, no royal robes, just a tiny child resting peacefully. Yet in that child, they felt hope, a hope the world had long awaited. They returned to their flocks filled with wonder, telling everyone who would listen about what they had seen. Their voices became the first human echoes of a story that would one day spread across the entire world. Far away, in lands beyond Judea, wise men noticed a strange new star rising in the night sky. They didn't know the details yet, but they understood the meaning. A king had been born. A journey began that same night, a journey that would take them months across deserts, mountains, and foreign cities. The star guided them, the promise pulled them forward. Though they would arrive later, their story began with the birth itself, woven into the same tapestry of wonder. The birth of Jesus didn't begin with applause from the world. It began quietly, humbly, in a forgotten corner of a crowded town, and yet, that is where God chose to enter humanity, not through power, but through vulnerability, not through riches, but through humility, not through glory, but through grace. The child who lay in that manger would one day teach multitudes, heal the sick, comfort the broken, challenge the proud, and lay down his life for the world. But on that night, he was simply a baby, held, loved, and protected by two parents who knew they were witnessing something far greater than themselves. The story of his birth reminds us that greatness is not always loud. Miracles are not always wrapped in gold. Hope often begins in small places, in quiet rooms, simple families, unexpected moments. The birth of Jesus is a reminder that light can break into the darkest places, that promises can be fulfilled in ways we never see coming, and that love often arrives quietly, gently, like a child resting in a manger. And so, on that night in Bethlehem, something eternal began. A new chapter for humanity, a new hope for the world. A Saviour had come, and nothing would ever be the same again.